Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindy, aka Boa Vista. Thank you so much if you're a returning subscriber. And if you're new here, what are you waiting for? For wat wacht jij? What are you waiting for? Click on that subscribe button. Just click on it, okay? Click on it. Today I'll be sharing my cult story with you guys. When I was a teenager, when my family started going to this William Marion Branham church, also known as the Message, and how we left and why we left it. And I am so glad that finally, after so many years, I can share the story with the world. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning subby, thank you so much for returning. If you are new here, guess what? There's a reason why you are here. So click on that subscribe button so that you don't miss anything whenever I upload. My name is Lindy, aka Boa Vista, and I go by the name Lindy Boa Vista 17 on Instagram, and Lindy Boa Vista Boon on Facebook, and Lindy Boon on Twitter. All my social media handles will be linked in the description box. So guys, today I want to share with you guys something that I've always wanted to share, but I think I needed the right moment. Okay, I want to share the fact that I was in a cult for my whole, I think, teenage years. Thank God, not my childhood, but my teenage years were one of the most, I must say, traumatic experiences, because let me actually start from the beginning. Okay, so I think I was like 13, and I was about to go to high school. So high school starts obviously with grade 8, and I had went to visit, I think, my grandmother's sister, and it was school holidays. So I went on a farm. She stayed on a farm. So when I came back, my grandmother called me and she's like, "Darling, doll, we have found a new church and we are going to start going there. But the thing is, this church, you're not allowed to wear pants. You're not allowed to use makeup." Obviously, I was still young and a teenager. The only thing I would use was like lip gloss, because my grandmother, I grew up in a very strict home. Okay, so obviously I was not allowed to have lipstick, to have weave, to have whatever. No, honey, that was not allowed in my house. So I was like, okay, cool. If that's the case, it's fine. I don't have a problem. It's your house, it's your rules. So, I mean, my grandmother was going, my aunt and her husband were also going, and I mean, I was staying with them, so I did not have a choice. Okay, there was, and we went to this church and everything. But let me tell you, when did I realize that this was actually a cult? There is no way a normal human being can live under so many strict rules and still like be normal. I mean, I was a teenager. At school, my skirt now all of a sudden, the length of my skirt had to change. You know how kids are being bullied? I was bullied a lot at school. Like, people always make fun of my skirt because it was longer. They'll always make fun of, how I looked. And the only time I felt actually at home was when we had to go to church and be with the other youth, because then I felt like I belong with them because I look the same like them and no one is laughing at me for the way that I appeared. And to make matters worse, my aunt could sew. So she didn't buy new clothes for me. They didn't buy new clothes for me. I was wearing clothes that were being handmade. So imagine this, going from a teenager that wears shorts, that plays sports, that's very active at school, to a teenager that's now wearing long dresses, long skirts, um, my hair as well. Like your hair needs to be long. Yeah, no makeup, no playing sports at school. You're not supposed to do anything that they tell you not to do. And I was so good at sports. I was good at singing. I was good at playing softball. And then I told myself, there's no way I'm gonna stop doing all these things because that's how I also keep myself busy. Besides schoolwork, that's how I keep myself busy. Well, so years passed, and I was in this church. So basically, the priest or the head minister at the church knew my aunt's husband very well from a young age. So he was more like a granddad to me, and the wife was like a grandmother to me as well. And it was like a mom and dad for them. And we had a great relationship and stuff. So at the age of 17, I was like, okay, let me get baptized because what's the use? What's the use? Little did I know, not even supposed to watch TV. Guys, like, I mean, I was that girl that was a bit tomboyish. So I would watch my Dragon Ball Z's, my Pokemon, like all these hectic kind of like cartoons. That's what I liked, okay? I mean, Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. You could not even watch movies. So, my uncle, who is my aunt's brother, he was not in the church. He was not doing any of this. And he was so against it, especially when it comes to me and going to school the way that I was looking. Because, I mean, he knew. And even in the street where we were staying, the kids actually started making fun of me, and they started not playing with me anymore because now it seems as if I'm a bit weird, or uh, they don't understand like what's going on. But as time went on, they realized, okay, she's going to the Brandhamite church. So this church, it's all about a prophet. His name is William Marion Branham, and he's an American minister. He's no longer alive, and his teachings are so hectic. It's not even funny. Like I said, no sex before marriage. Kids must be had in a marriage, and no sports for girls because you might break your virginity. Like things that just don't add up. So the other day, I went on YouTube. I was like, you know what? Oh, by the way, we ended up stopping going to the church. Thank God. I think I was almost done with matric because my matric as well was my matric farewell. I didn't even want to go because I was like, how am I gonna look? What am I gonna wear? But my friends are like, no, this is a once in a lifetime thing. You have to go to your matric ball. You might regret it in life later on. And I was like, okay, no makeup. There I was like, I don't like my matric farewell pictures. That's like, I feel like my whole teenage years were stolen away from me, and my mid like my first 20s, because I feel like I wanted to enter Miss SA. I couldn't even do that because it's against the rules. I wanted to be to do arts and culture, not be in science. And now thinking and looking back, it's like, oh my god, actually my childhood and my teenagers were stolen away from me. Like, I will come back from school and stay in my uniform so that I can go to the shops wearing my uniform, because by then my grandmother listened to my uncle, and then they actually made my skirt a bit shorter, so that I can look like the other teenagers in school. So that would always be my uniform. I'll wear that the whole day until, because I had like four different skirts, yes, for school. So I'll wear that and then go to the shops wearing that, come back. And then my grandmother always asked me, why are you not taking off your school uniform when you come back home? Like, I was like, I'm not gonna answer. Like, I'm not gonna answer you. I'm not. And to make matters worse, I decided at school that I was gonna still do my sports. I was still gonna do my sports. So the one incident that happened is I was good in running, especially long distance. So there's no way my school was gonna let me not run, right? So we went to another school because we were competing with different schools in a district, in our Pretoria district area. Guess who I see? So at church, there's these elders and they call them the deacons, right? They are the people that instill the law and make sure that if ever someone is getting married, they give them counseling. And if ever you are about to be miscommunicated because maybe you're caught wearing pants, caught drinking was also not allowed. Yeah, those people, right? So here I was at a sports, wearing my shorts about to run. Guess who I see? The deacons kids. The deacons kids are there and they are doing sports. And I was like, hey. And they were like, hi, how are you? And everything. They were actually nice, And then I did my sports, got my medals, and then went home. Then the following day in the morning, I told my grandmother, I was like, I saw something last night during the sports day. The deacons kids were there and they were doing sports. So if they're allowed to do sports, why am I not allowed to do sports? So my grandmother was like, you know what? You're still young, so I'm not going to be that hard on you. You can go and do your sports, do your choir, it's fine. But I don't know how your aunt and uncle are gonna feel because they were like my guardian parents. They still are. So I call them mom and dad, right? So I did all of that. My grandmother kept quiet. My uncle obviously is not in. Oh, and the other word is called the message. That's what they call it. This church, excuse me. They call it the message. So after that encounter, seeing that the deacon's kids are allowed to do everything else, why am I not allowed to run? Why am I not allowed to sing in a choir? And those are the talents that God has given me, So I went and I confronted one of the deacons when they came over to our house, because if I can tell you, my life was literally sports during the week. That's how I kept myself busy and away from this whole church thing. Sundays, they'll always invite the people from church over. So meaning in the morning you had to wake up at 5 a.m., cook, clean, make sure the house is clean, the yard is clean, help out, make sure the food is cooked before you go to church. When you come back from church, you're literally the tea lady. Like, my whole teenage years were literally like that. I was always the one making tea, helping out, washing the dishes, to a point that when my church friends came over to visit, I remember it was over school holidays. The one was actually older than me. I think she was 18 and she was in matric that year. She got so embarrassed because I could cook, I could do everything in the household. Literally, I could run a household. She couldn't even cook. So with everything that I was doing, and we had, I think, 5 dogs, so I was already used to, if the gardener is not there, I'm the one that has to clean up after the dogs, pick up the poop and everything, make sure that everything is disinfected with J's fluid, just keep the place neat and tidy and clean the way that my dad wanted it to be, you know. So to them, because they are not used to working like that, they're not used to waking up in the morning and doing all of that, they felt as if I was being abused. So after the school holidays, they went back home. And when they got home, they were reporting to their parents that I'm actually being abused at home. And that got to my parents, and they were not happy. So now the fact that at church already you're so overwhelmed because your life never used to be that way. You used to be a free child, visit your friends. So my friends, they see them as worldly friends because they're not in the message. They're not following the teachings of this William Marion Branham prophet. So as time went on, it was really hard. It was really hard even at school for me to do any sports or anything else. But luckily, I had my grandmother on my side, so she would always keep quiet, make sure that my uncle goes and picks me up after the sports days. So that my parents they don't find out. And I'm really thankful and grateful for my grandmother because that woman really taught me a lot about life. She taught me a lot. Okay. So how did we get out from this cult? There were a bit of troubles at home, and when I think my dad consulted with the deacons, they were so unbothered. And to think that my dad was so close with the main minister of the message, like he treated him like his own dad, and he treated him, my dad, like his own son, you know. Like even with me, they treated me and my sister as their own grandkids. We knew their daughter as well, like everything about them. So when all these troubles started happening at home, they didn't even come to counsel or care or anything. And I think as well, my dad figured out, nah man, something right lana. Like it's just nie guys. Because this prophet, I'm rambling and I'm everywhere, but I'm sorry guys. I'm trying to get everything out that I can remember, you know. He figured out that the prophecies that this prophet is said in the tapes, because they have tapes, they have books, and I think they even have a blog, probably a YouTube channel as well, I don't know. And I think he figured out, no, there are certain things that are a lie, you know. I mean, for example, the other day, okay, I went on YouTube and I typed in the name William Marion Branham. Then I came across this YouTube channel. I think it's ran by Charles, and the other guy's name is Paisley. I think that's the surname. So these guys, their surnames I remember because their grandads were deacons when this prophet was alive. And there's a picture with a pillar of fire apparently over his head. That pillar of fire, so they actually managed to send the picture and everything to the FBI, and when it came back, they found actually that that's a negative image, and it's not actually a true reflection of anything. It's literally just light that was done. And when they researched who took the picture, it was actually some dodgy criminal who was capable of redoing pictures or paintings and selling them. That is not all. This prophet, most of the prophecies that he said, they never came true. And I remember very well. Like, I remember very well during the church services that would attend, there was at one point where the minister or the preacher said, America is gonna have a female president, right? So he will always say that, and then it never happened. It never happened, and I think he even gave dates and years. That never happened. The other one was what was the other prophecy? The other prophecy that in the end times you're not supposed to eat eggs. But he was eating eggs. Like, there's even evidence that those guys had that he was eating eggs. So number one, the picture is fake. Number two, all his friends, this William Marion Branham prophet, the people that he was friends with, like Pastor Roy Davis, and I think there's a name Wesley as well. These guys were criminals. They were criminals. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, I ended up actually sending the YouTube link to my dad. I was like, I knew all along that this was a cult. I knew it. I knew all along that this was a cult. So to make matters worse, oh my gosh, to make matters worse is that I think last week in Kenya, there's one of the preachers as well was found arrested actually by the police in Kenya because he told the people there that they needed to fast. It's the end times. So they were fasting and they found most people deceased. And when they were busy doing their search, they actually came across the spoken words. Like I told you guys, they have these books and they call them spoken words books. Most of them were there, and I want to focus on one specific title that says the serpent seed. That's one of the teachings that this William Marion Branham used to preach about a lot. And actually, these two guys that I was talking about, I'll try and link their YouTube channel or blog in my description box, because there's so much that they went through to research to show how fake and how untrue this whole message thing is built on. You know, it's not necessarily like godly. It's not Christian at all. Like, there is no way. So yeah, the serpent seed is basically this is heavy. The serpent seed talks about he says it's Eve, and Eve slept with a snake, and after sleeping with the snake, the serpent seed was then born. But the serpent seed, he says, is the black people and the Jews, meaning they are the descendants of Cain. They are cursed. But he says it in such a manner that people don't realize he's actually talking about black people and the Jews. Like, make it make sense. Where does all of that come from? So these guys actually said this whole teaching, he got it from the what do you call it? The clan, the Ku Klux Klan. Yes, the KKK. You know those guys that wear the white hoods? And I was like, what? So Pastor Roy Davis was actually part of those KKK clan people. So that's how they actually met and became friends and started going to all these revivals. And that's where he got all the wordings and everything. So when he broke away from there and started going on his own, he started then preaching and using some of the Bible's verses. so that people don't see that this is actually made up. The serpent seed. Guys. Now, this serpent seed, okay, the lights just went off. So now, load shedding. So load shedding just hit. But I'm gonna continue recording because I think the daylight is okay for me to continue recording. Let me look at the right spot. Yeah. And to think, my grandmother, when we all left, my grandmother was still in this church. She said she's not going anywhere because she needs a church that will bury her if she passes on. And I was like, now that I know what I know, I need to tell her. I need to tell her the truth, because there's so many things that were not true and were being taught to people. Like this whole Malindi cult in Kenya that happened, where people died and they didn't even know this whole thing is false. They didn't even know this whole thing was false. And now, because of the false prophecies, where they keep on saying, like, if a prophecy doesn't come true, then they go back and then they they rearrange the dates and everything and the wording. So yeah, it's actually sad that people starve themselves to death and they thought they were actually going to heaven. And the way they put it, it's like you have to go to church and worship this prophet and his teachings in order for you to get a ticket inside heaven. And I'm like, but Jesus doesn't say that in the Bible, you know? And I'm so glad that we left this church so many years ago. And I remember they were calling my parents names. Yeah, the backslidden, God is gonna deal with them, this, that. And I remember my grandmother saying, oh, now you're wearing pants, oh, now you're wearing makeup, oh, now you're doing this. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna do what I love doing. God will accept the way that I am and my heart, because all of this, I feel like the Bible says your heart is a temple of God, and God normally looks at your heart. You can go to church and be evil as hell. How are you gonna enter heaven if you're evil as hell? Just because you go into church doesn't mean that you are the best Christian or you are a good person. There's a lot of people actually that go to church and they're evil. Okay? So yeah, I grew up in a cult, guys, and to figure it out right now, and I don't even know what said to me, punch in William Marion Branham in your YouTube search engine and see what pops up. And there it was, the truth, that it's a cult. You know, it's not true. This whole message thing is it's derailing people from the true word of God. So I would rather advise people to, you know what, if ever you left the message, kudos to you, because it's scary. The things that are being taught there are scary, because some of them are not even aligned with what's in the Bible. They're not aligned with what's in the Bible. Another story is how this prophet says that he was born in a cabin, he was born poor. When he was born, there was some sort of light that came and sat by his pillow when he was young. His mom, I think, was approached by all of this. The mom, there's no way where the mom is giving a statement that this happened. This is how scary it gets. This is how scary it gets. Like, there is no evidence of any of that. And his childhood as well. There are so many things that he says that are not making sense. And like I said, these two guys, may God bless their souls and protect them, because obviously the record label or the recording house that's in Jeffersonville in Texas, Arizona, in the United States, they're definitely obviously gonna come after them, because they're exposing their lies, they're exposing how fake this prophet is, how the wording or the message is derailing people from actually um, following the right teachings of Jesus. You know, like I was saying, the story of him as a teenager. It is said that his dad was actually a moonshine producer. Like moonshine is like alcohol. Oh, excuse me. Moonshine is like alcohol that you make, right? From scratch. So he was actually doing money laundering for the big bosses in New York, I think that's what they said. So the one time the police came and they got into a gun fight. He was a teenager then. This William Marion Branham. And none of that is in the word. None of that is in the teachings or anything that he says. So I think he said his dad was a drunkard. Nope. There is no such. So, and then I think he was then his dad was arrested and went to jail. And then he was shot. And then the KKK clan, I cannot pronounce this word, the Ku Klux Klan, whatever, the KKK clan, they went to the hospital and then paid his bill and stuff. So in the message, there's a part where he normally would refer to them as the Masons. You know what the Masons is? The Freemasons. In the 1933, 1902, 1933, you know, that whole era, I think there were people that used to call themselves the Freemasons. So he now, because he was scared, probably people will figure it out that the KKK clan were the ones that was helping him and his dad. So he always says he will ever be indebted to them, because they came to pay the hospital bills and make sure that he was okay. So ask yourself, why? Why? And I think that's why my parents ended up leaving the message, because my dad started asking the why. Why this? Why that? You know, like, things are not adding up. So, you know, the fact that there's so many lies that are in those spoken words, and the way that he preaches is in a way that you won't, if you approach the deacons or your minister or the head minister of the church, they will be so aggressive towards you and not even answer you. Because I remember the one time I said to them, but I have a talent of running. Just like Joseph had a talent of reading and interpreting dreams and speaking so many languages. So if he could use that to his advantage and make his life better, why am I not allowed to run at school? I mean, it's wrong, you know. And another thing is, women are not allowed to wear revealing clothes. Like even this t-shirt, I probably won't be allowed to wear it because it's got Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. I'm not even gonna go with my makeup and my nails. And you're not allowed to go in with pants. Never. You must always abide by the deacons and the priest and the preacher's rules. You must always abide by doing what they tell you to do, you know. If you don't do it, you are called up upon on stage to say, guys, or they make you stand up and say, sister so and so is being disfellowship because she was caught drinking, or because she was caught fornicating with someone, even giving someone a kiss on the cheek, as much as that, you get disfellowshipped. You know, if you marry someone from the denomination, that's what they call it. If you're not part of the message and you are outside, they call you you from the denomination, and you are cursed, basically. You are not of God. And they are so judgmental. Like, and one thing I always ask myself is, Jesus said, those who don't have a sin, let them cast the first stone. And none of the people that were there did anything, because everyone is a sinner. We are born sinners. Like, that's why he came here to die for us, to wash away our sins, you know? So who are they to judge? Because I feel like if you're saying that, you're actually judging someone. Why are you judging? Who are you? You're not God. You are not God. You ain't God. So yeah, I grew up in a cult, guys, and it was not easy. It was not easy. My teenage years were the most traumatic in my life. Like, if I had to turn back time, I think I would skip that whole part of my life. I would literally skip it, because it was hectic. It was hell. I remember the one time I forged my my parents' signature because I had to go and sing. We were so good. It's what is it called? It's called Ravi. We were so good at singing in the choir at school. So our choir was doing so well that we placed first everywhere we went. We ended up actually winning and representing Gauteng, like the whole province. So we had to go and compete with other provinces. I remember my dad had to go to school and tell the vice principal that what I had done, that I had forged the signature and I cannot go with, because it's against my religious rules and laws. I remember my vice principal telling me that, but she is so good. Like, she is one of the lead dancers in the whole Ravi thing. So if she's not there, we stand a chance of losing. So they sent me out of the office, and then they were there speaking alone. And I was like, God, I need this. Like, I need it. So afterwards, I don't know what the vice principal said to him, and he agreed, and I was allowed to go and perform for the last time. And I remember we came second, actually, that year in Ravi. So you can imagine how the whole time I had to convince them that I need to do this, I need to do that, you know? And I didn't want that for my sisters. I'm so glad by the time they had to go to school, we were done with this whole message nonsense. Like, we were done with it. I mean, it's like you're in prison. You're not even living your life. And another thing that shocked me when I was Googling, or rather on YouTube, is the fact that the Jim Jones massacre, where people died, that guy was friends with William Marion Branham as well. They knew each other. He was following his teachings as well. So if you are in the message and you're still thinking his teachings and prophecies are true and they're not even coming true, clearly you need to start rethinking and like figuring things out. Rather read your Bible and not go to church. Rather read your Bible and not go to church. Like, seriously, guys. The fact, the other one is, so it's the Jim Jones. It's this Pastor Roy Davis, who was also a criminal. Like, everyone in his life was a criminal, which is so sad. The other one that I want to talk about is so sensitive that, what, God help me, but I'm gonna say it. Apparently, he had 7 prophecies, right? So these 7 prophecies, he wrote them apparently on a piece of paper, and then he buried them or placed them at the cornerstone of the church. And it states in the word or the spoken word that this church or the tabernacle was built in 1933, and that's when he placed that piece of paper with the 7 prophecies that he received from God on that cornerstone of the church or the tabernacle. When research was done by these 2 guys, I will definitely link their YouTube channel in my description box. When they researched, the temple was only built in 1936. So how does 1933, you're placing your paper or whatever with the 7 prophecies, and then the tabernacle was only built in 1936? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. It does not add up. Then when he passed on, I think he passed away in 1960 something. If when I find the wording or whatever, I'll link everything in my video. He apparently was supposed to rise after he died, like Jesus, because he was, referring to himself as Jesus as well. Guys, they left him on ice, or rather in a mortuary, for more than 3 months. Only after 3 months, people realized he's not gonna wake up. That prophecy of him saying, if I die, I'm gonna rise up again, it's not gonna happen. And it's the fact that the message people, they know about this, but they never ask questions. Why? He never rose. Then they decided to bury him and make like a normal grave. So that grave, people started going there and praying, thinking like they will get some sort of blessings or receive blessings or holiness or whatever to them. So they ended up making the grave like a, how can I say, like a pyramid, kind of like like a triangle, so that people can't reach, to his skeleton, because people were so obsessed. And then this whole thing of the 7 prophecies that were buried in the corner of the tabernacle, after his death, they went and they dug the paper up. There was nothing. So you know what they said? Because they knew there was nothing, the people that dug it, because they needed to keep this whole message thing alive. They told the people, no, the angels came down. Yeah. Why do y'all want to lie with God's angels and God's name? That's so wrong. They told the people that the angels came down and wiped off the 7 prophecies that were written on the paper. And the paper is also not there. So the paper is clean. Wow. And those 7 prophecies, none of them actually came true. So why are people still following this whole message thing? I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know. But there's one thing I want to say to the people that got out of this cult, to the people that got out of this message, and you are being called names, you are being called, I don't know, that a backslider, you are blasphemy. Listen, let them call you whatever. Just remember one thing. When you fight for the truth and it has to do with God, people will always come and attack you. They'll always come and attack you. They'll always come for you. That's when you know you must be doing something right. You must be doing something right. So I just want to say, I think maybe we need to pray for all the people that are still in this cult. If they still don't see that this is a cult, it's sad. It's very sad. I'm just glad that my parents got out when it was still early, and my sisters had a normal childhood, and their teenage years were normal. They didn't have to go through so much trauma that I went through. But I'm a strong person, so I guess that's why I survived and I made it. And at the end of the day, I feel like maybe I had to go through this so that I can share my story with the world, and expose all of this. Because in South Africa, I think there's 3 main churches where there was at one point when we were still there, the main minister, he was fighting with the other minister because he now said he's the 8th messenger, because William Marion Branham was the 7th messenger, or the 7 church ages and what in Revelations. So he said he's the 8th messenger. There's no such a thing. So everyone literally follows the spoken word and the messages, but they also add their own things. And the same example like this whole Malindi cult in Kenya where people died. Leave these fake prophets now before it's too late. just leave these fake prophets before it's too late, because it's not worth your family's life. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your heart. Your heart is your temple, the temple of God. It's not worth any of that. Love yourself, love God, and God will love you back. That's all that you need in this life. I am really so glad that I got it out. I feel so free. Got it out after so many years. I think it's like 20 years, after 20 years that we've left the message. My grandmother even stopped going to church. I think she stopped 4 years ago with the COVID thing. Because you could see that it's not worth it. And to think that people don't even know that the serpent seed is talking about them as black people. Like, please go and do your research. Because God says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Get that knowledge so that you know and you follow and you read your own Bible. The truth is in the Bible. I love you guys. I know probably you didn't expect this from me, but yeah, I was in a cult for my most teenage years, and I'm so glad my family got out, and I'm so glad that God allowed me to be out of there safe and sound and still a beautiful person and a beautiful soul and my beautiful family. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching this video. Please leave the comments down below, and anyone that's gonna bash me, I'm just gonna pray for you that God shows you the light. Anyone that's gonna bash other people in my comments when they come, because I know there's probably people that are gonna see this and wanna leave a comment and wanna reach out and say thank you so much for sharing your story, because your story is now relieving us of the pain and trauma that we went through. May God be with all of you guys out there who are ex-message believers. You're not alone. There's a reason why we must share our stories. There's a reason why. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. That will probably be a makeup video and a story time. Stay blessed. My name is Lindy, aka Boa Vista, and I love you guys.